be the one asking the questions. So sorry for the echo here. But Isabel, could you tell us really about the role of a technical account manager here in Amazon?
Yes, absolutely. So technical account managers are the advocates for the customer. What we do is we try to work as close as possible with customers. We try to be part of their team. And as part of the enterprise support organization, our goal is to ensure that they are achieving operational excellence. And how do we do that? We do that through different activities. As you can imagine, we do proactive and reactive activities. So reactive activities are the ones that you know as the customer open a support case, they have an issue, they have a question, and then the support team helps them either solving the issue or maybe answering any questions they might have. The TAM is gonna intervene whenever there is the need to escalate the case, or whenever there is the need to maybe move that issue or that question to a different internal team that might have a different type of knowledge. For instance, if my customer opens a case because they have an issue or a question with their RDS instance, support will try to troubleshoot and solve an issue, but sometimes we need to engage with our DB engineers. They have a much more deeper knowledge, specific on certain engines, and they will be able to help with more specific advice in order to enable sometimes certain parameters, or sometimes maybe improving the way they do queries. So that's where I come. I try to engage with whomever is needed to solve that issue or to answer the question they might have. Proactive activities are more in terms, it's always support, we are always under a support organization, but they would be more related to improving the performance of their environments, or improving the fault tolerance, or sometimes we do cost optimization activities, and even helping them improving the security and providing always best practices. Let's take the same scenario. If my customer opens a lot of support cases, maybe asking questions about a specific service or a specific feature on a service, I might then think that a workshop might be useful in that case, instead of them opening a case every time for every single question. So that's one of the activities we might do. Another activity that is very helpful to our customer is IEMs, that's infrastructure event management, and that is something that we use when customers need to do a big launch, or because they are launching maybe a new product or a new service themselves, or maybe because they are doing something important on their environments, like migrating a workload, or they've been architecting a new environment and it's gonna go to production. So it's usually something that cannot fail, and then what we do is we work with our internal teams to plan for that event. That's the most important part, is always planning. And then also, as we know that everything fails all the time, in case that happens, we work with the teams and we gather all the support engineers that might be needed on that specific time, on that day, or during that event. So in case there is need, they can react as fast as possible. So those are some of the activities we do. Yeah.
Cool. So it sounds very busy role. But in terms of, just to give an overview maybe of your background and kind of your, I suppose, qualifications and maybe where you've worked before in terms of the types of roles you did before, can you just give us a high level overview of kind of what made you choose this path in terms of studying in this field? And then, you know, how did it change over the last few years before you even came to Amazon Web Services?
Yeah, it's been a long journey. So, well, in case you might have noticed from my accent, I'm originally from Spain, But before coming here to UK, I've lived 10 years in Italy. And I started, as you know, I started as a Java developer. But then I moved to roles more related with infrastructure. So I've been a system administrator and also a network administrator, working as a final customer. And then once I had that technical knowledge on those specific fields, I decided, and because I was working with some partners, I decided to try that side, to try to be a partner and to try to work more on projects. And as a partner, I've been a consultant, which means I was the one implementing those projects, and also an architect, which means I was designing those projects. For a period of time, I've also been a project manager, so ensuring that the projects were fulfilled and implemented successfully. And then, because of all that experience, I got to be in touch with the vendors, especially VMware and Citrix. I was closer to them. So I thought it was a good opportunity to see what happens on that side. So that's my most recent experience. I've been working with Microsoft, and the most recent, I was at Citrix before coming here to AWS. And I think probably that journey is what it's the reason why I think and why I love being a technical account manager. And it's because I've been a customer, I've been a partner, I've been a provider, a vendor. So I understand the different concerns, the different interests, and I think that enables me to understand, to be able to have those conversations, because I've been on those positions. So I know, or I try to know and anticipate what they need. So yeah, that's the reason why I choose a technical account manager role, and that's the reason why I love it, because I'm very close to the customer. I'm part of their teams, but I'm also an employee at AWS. So yeah, it's been a long
Great.
journey, but I'm happy I'm here. Yeah.
And so you're in Amazon about 9 months now. So how has your, I suppose maybe because all the people on this call, they're probably interested to know what training is involved, what the onboarding is like, and how much do they learn in those first kind of 3 to 6 months, so that they can be comfortable on front of an enterprise level customer. So could you maybe talk us through maybe your first kind of 3 months, the onboarding and induction, and then tell us a little bit about how maybe your role has changed over the last kind of 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna start with my first day, because to me, my first day was so exciting. After I passed the interviews, I was invited for my first day at work, and I was expecting to be introduced on my team and be the new one, and it was absolutely not like that. My first day, my first hours here at AWS were with other people that was starting, and there was a team waiting for us, and they shared their experiences. They told us what was going to happen. So I felt so welcomed, and it was really good to have that onboarding with people from the company that was telling us what was going to happen, but also to get to meet people like me that was there for the first time, and it was their first day too. So that was great. I got to make a lot of new friends, and after that I started with my training specific for my role. I had a 1-week training specific for technical account managers, and that training is the purpose of that training is to learn the tools that we will use to perform our normal activities. After that training, which is specific for us, we go to the CSE training, which is the training, and this is very interesting, at least for me, is the training that support engineers do. It's exactly the same training, and that is great for 2 reasons. The first one is because we learn the same things they learn, so it's purely technical, and we get to learn really so much about the services, about all the services, the core services, and we learn as much as support engineers are learning. So that means it's very good level. And the second reason, and as a technical account manager, this was really important, and it was a great opportunity, is that I was there in a room knowing new support engineers. Which allowed me to make those relations since the beginning. So from there, whenever I need help or whenever I need to, ask a question to a support engineer, I still have a chat with all those engineers. They are my friends. I'm always happy every time I go to that. I'm always happy to go and see them. So that to me was a great opportunity too, to make more friends, and also to get the same technical level as them, which is amazing. So those are
Cool.
the main trainings as a technical account manager. And then there are some other trainings where you get to know all the other teams in the company. We have so many teams, so it's really good also to get in touch with them and know who everyone is.
Yeah.
So
Can I
yeah,
just
that's
ask on that? So you mentioned, you learn about all the different products and services that we offer here in AWS, and I know there's so many of them. So I think there's over 75. Do you have to know them all, or how do you kind of prioritize what areas that you focus on? Because no one person can be an expert in everything. So can you talk me through, maybe is each TAM an expert in one area, or a complete generalist?
Yeah, every time is different, and I think that's the beauty of the team, that each one has different skills and each one has different interests. So we are fairly free to choose. We used to try to have a minimum understanding of all the services, at least to know what they do and what's the right use case for each one. But yeah, it's absolutely impossible. There are so many services, and we keep releasing new services and new features all the time. Recently there was a reInvent, so we are still digesting all that information, right? But yeah, personally for me, because I come from a strong virtualization and networking field, that was the most easy part. So one of the things I've been doing lately is learn about big data, because I was lacking a bit of knowledge on that field. So I've been doing trainings, I've been playing with the services, but yeah, every time has different interests, and it usually goes very related to what your customers are doing, because it's very easy. If they are doing something that it's like very appealing, you fall into that curiosity and you want to know more and you want to be helpful to them, so you start learning more and more and more. So sometimes the customer can drive also your interest on a specific services.
Cool. So are you aligned to customers then that need your expertise in those areas of virtualization and networking?
Yes, absolutely. We try to make the relation. It's a relation. It's not like we don't assign terms to customers blindly. We try to choose the time that is gonna fit the customer needs. And on the other side, we try to choose a customer that is appealing for a TAM, because we want everyone to be happy, and I think that's part of the success of those relations, that both sides are happy to have each other. So yeah, it probably goes. I mean, if a TAM is interested in something very specific, and we have a customer that is exactly doing that, and the customer is in need of a TAM that has the skills that specific TAM has, then it's a perfect match, right? So we try to always find that perfect match.
Cool. And just in terms of going out and engaging with your customers, obviously it's a very important part of the role. Who do you bring with you? Like, if you need an expert, would you partner with the solutions architecture team, or who do you mainly work with within the business to come out with you and help out?
Well, I try to engage with everyone that my customer might need, right? We are a big family here, so we don't have relations in terms of, oh, we need to bring that specific person. Is whomever can help is very welcome, and everyone here is willing to help our customers. Usually, I would say that I have a very strong relation with the account manager and with the solution architect, because they go often to the customer, we go often together, and we also have a close relation with concierge, because being part of the enterprise agreement, we usually have common customers, and we try to work as close as possible too. But I work with many other teams, as I was mentioning before. DB engineers, sometimes if my customer needs them, I'm happy to arrange calls with them, or I'm happy to arrange activities with them. Also, we work with the service teams, with the support teams, with product managers, because we want to align the roadmap, our roadmap, with our customers' roadmap. We want us and the customers to work towards the same direction, and we try to always align our roadmap to theirs, to make sure that whatever we are working on is gonna actually be something that it's going to be useful for them, right? So yeah, it's a lot of teams, and I'm always happy to know more teams and to work with new people and more people.
Yeah, and I know a few candidates that I've reached out to, whether it's on LinkedIn or candidates who are interested in the technical account manager role, and they're not sure about the difference between the technical account manager role and the solutions architect role. Can you kind of talk us through, because I know they're different in every company, but can you talk us through maybe here in Amazon what the difference is between a solutions architect and a TAM?
Yeah, that's true. They are both very technical roles. So there might be some, it's difficult to identify who does what. Maybe this can help. So solution architects are under the sales organization, and technical account managers are under the support, the enterprise support organization. So a solution architect will provide best practices and advice, but from an architect point of view. So he will try to help customers find the right service for the use cases, and will help them defining the right design for those new environments. And the technical account manager will also provide best practices and advice, but from an operational point of view. So let's say our customer is making a migration. The solution architect will make sure that the customer is choosing the right services, and that they are implementing all the best practices, and that the environments are secure and performant and fault tolerant. And technical account managers will, yes, take that into account and will provide those best practices. But we will, because we work so close with the team, we will also think about how is that going to impact the customer? Is there going to be a service disruption? Do we need to plan that? Do we need to maybe schedule an IEM to, plan and have a team ready in case we need support the day that we maybe launch that new environment? So we have that operational focus, and I think that is because we are part of the customer team, so we understand what they do normally. We understand what is the impact of maybe a disruption, and what are their workflows, and all those things help us have a different point of view. And yes, we work together, but I would say that is the difference. They work from an architectural point of view, and we work from an operational point of view.
Okay, cool. And in terms of kind of exciting projects that you're able to talk about on the call publicly, what exciting maybe technical project have you been working on recently?
This is like a crazy period, because there is so much going on. We had the reInvent, which means my customer needs to know everything. Some of the members at my customer have gone to reInvent, but maybe
Tell
not
us
everybody.
a bit more about reInvent, because some people might know what reInvent is.
Oh yeah, well, reInvent. You should go and see all the videos that are online already, because it's a great experience. It's where we launch launch all the new services, but it's also a great opportunity to learn more about the services, all the other services. So yes, there is a lot of information there, some information about the normal services, but there are also a lot of new things, a lot of new announcements. So obviously that is very interesting for our customers because they want to know what's there now or what's coming, and plan accordingly. So that was really exciting. So we are now starting to have those conversations with customers, but also this is the time where we just went out from Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and now we are going into Christmas. So those are also very interesting moments in time for many of our customers, and we need to ensure that everything is at the best, to ensure that they are ready for no matter what, for the unexpected, and that's why see some of us are very busy on this time of the year. Obviously, related to my customers, times usually have side projects. Personally, as I said, I'm very interested in big data now. Partially it's because my customer is very interested, so they kind of led my interest to that. Talking with them is so exciting that I cannot, I need to know more, right? I want to be more involved on all those conversations. So that's why I'm like trying to get myself ramped up on all those services, the new one and the not so new ones. But yeah, that's it's a lot of things, a lot going on.
Yeah. And is there any project that you can talk about, even a specific customer, or is it kind of all confidential?
Well, yeah. Yeah, what customers do is usually confidential.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I can say is, for instance, we're doing many interesting things, and we are working now on. I'm not going to give details, obviously,
Yeah.
but we have many projects that are really interesting. Some of them are related to big data. This is something that we are very, very, very focused on. It's one of our priorities, and it's very interesting because it allows me to. We are engaging with DB engineers, and we are engaging with the product managers, so we get information firsthand from them, and we are tuning our environments and deciding our next steps with them, which is a great experience because we are not taking decisions based on the unknown. We feel that we have a whole team supporting us and guiding us and helping us make the right decisions, which is great.
Cool, brilliant. And in terms of, I suppose, as we mentioned, we spoke before this call, and you spoke about how you're passionate about technology and big data and learning more all the time. But you said there's a thin line between kind of it being a hobby and being your job as to what you spend your time on sometimes. So, can you tell us a little bit about the work-life balance that you have and how you manage that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is always an interesting question for me because one of the things I used to do a lot on my free time is learning new things. There are so many resources out there. So when I'm studying or when I'm building new environments or just trying things in my lab, it gets that line between work and life is very blurry for me because I'm having fun and I'm doing what I really like to do. So I always think when I'm working on my lab or when I'm studying new things, is that work or is that like me just doing my hobbies? Yeah, maybe I shouldn't be saying that, but yeah. So to me, that is great. I think. Personally, I think it's amazing when it's not clear to me where work ends and where life starts, when I can bring my life into work and it's fine. It's my life, my passion, my interests are part of my job. So that is great. That to me, it's difficult to say work-life balance because I don't have to balance them. They just are the same thing. And there are so many commonalities that I don't need to force myself or to think. I don't think on my agenda when I'm doing work or when I'm doing my hobbies or my interests. It's very blurry.
And in terms of travel, is there a lot of travel involved in the role? I know on the job description we have, I think between 15 and 30% depending. So how do you manage that?
Well, I have to say, as we say, we always try to find customers that fit also the TAM needs. So personally, I love to travel. As you can imagine, I'm from Spain, I'm in Italy, I'm here now, and again, this to me is an opportunity. So yeah, when I got my customers, I was given the opportunity to get customers that would also allow me to travel. So again, everything is on my favor. I feel very selfish,
And for
but
those
yeah.
who maybe don't want to travel as much, is that an option or?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same thing because we have customers almost everywhere. It's very likely that there will be a customer that will fit the TAM needs, and there will be a TAM that will fit the customer needs. That's the goal. It's to find a team that we don't want to be all the same. We want to find members of the team that are different and that bring new things, new skills. And if we were all the same, we wouldn't be able to answer to different needs. So that's why it's important that we have different interests and we need to have different needs, and sometimes have families and maybe they want to be closer to their homes, and we have the opportunity to work from home. So for them, that works fantastically. So yeah, it's about knowing what you really want to do, and we try our best to fit those needs.
Yeah. And just in terms of, the background or profile of hire for this role. So obviously when I go out and look for candidates, some are solutions architects, some had been systems administrators before. And sometimes there's things in common, but a lot of the time they're very different. So obviously the customer facing piece and consultancy bit where you can actually talk to senior level executives in an enterprise company or customer. So do you notice anything really common about you and all the other TAMs? And I suppose what stands out as different?
Yeah, I would say that what we have in common is fair technical knowledge on all the core subjects. Usually, compute and networking are important. And then we also need to have those soft skills because we will be having those relations with customers at different levels. We might have conversation with C-level executive, and we might have conversations directly with developers. And we have to be able to communicate properly with each one of them and to understand their messaging and to be able to get their needs and bring them to all the different teams that need to be involved. So I would say that what the common factor between us is a balance between those soft skills and some technical knowledge, and then each time will bring its own, added bonus, which might be you're really, really good at some specific technical field, or you might have an amazing experience maybe doing QBRs or maybe having those executive conversations, whatever that is. I mean, and the best thing, and that's something I always try to tell to candidates, if I may, is to do not be limited but by what's on the offer. If you have something special that we haven't think about, bring it, because maybe that's what we are missing on the team, right? We are only able to think about the things we know. So maybe we are missing something new, something that that it would be really fantastic to have on the team.
Great. Okay, so everyone kind of brings their own expertise area, but has to have the kind of breadth of understanding of technologies across the board. Okay, cool. Okay, so in terms of, I know at the beginning, I kind of asked about your background and, that type of thing, but in terms of over the last kind of 6 months in Amazon, is there anything new and different, or has your role changed at all other than moving country? So you're based in London now and you were previously in Italy. So what else? Has anything changed in terms of your role, your remit, anything else you're able to take on that you didn't think you would?
Yes. Well, when I finished the training, I thought I was ready, so I started getting customers. And after working with the customers, I realized there was a difference from the beginning to after, let's say, 3 months working with them, because even if you know all the tools, even if you have all the technical knowledge, it's important to know what your customer is doing, and it's important to get to know them. What are their priorities? What are they focusing on at the moment? How do they work? How are the teams at the customer working between them? And you get that only after you've been working with the customer for a while, and that after a while, I realized the first time I came with my technical knowledge and with all my skills, but I lacked knowing their teams. So after a while, I was able to also adapt my own skills to whatever they needed and suggest whatever was good for them and whatever was important for them. So I think that's the difference. After a while, you're able to use that knowledge to provide a better service.
Okay, cool. So you need to have that kind of understanding of your customer rather than just going in with all your knowledge and hoping that you've got an answer for them, and seeing how they work and how their teams work, and if it affects their team, if you implement something, how they're going to cope. So a bit of empathy and putting yourself in their shoes. Okay, cool. So a lot of the customer engagement and earning their trust is really important. Now, I think some of the people on the call have probably heard about Amazon's leadership principles. So for this role, my understanding is that customer obsession is really important, earning the customer's trust, and delivering on that. So what do you think are the 3 most important leadership principles or Amazonian principles that you'd need to have to be successful in this role?
Personally, my personal favorite one, and it's something that it was in me even before I started in Amazon, is customer obsession. Everything I've done is to make sure that the customer was getting what they needed. So that's not only my favorite now, it's always been, and it's my driver. I would probably say there are 2 other leadership principles that are very important, and one of them is probably bias for action. Sometimes time is fundamental. As a technical account manager, you have to get many decisions. You are responsible for many things that happen with your customer. So yeah, you in my opinion, being biased for action, it's really, really, really important for a technical account manager. And the third
one, getting things done efficiently. Yeah,
it's not only getting things done, it's just knowing when you need to take a decision and taking that decision, even when it's not easy. Someone needs to take a decision, because sometimes not taking a decision has also consequences. So that's why it's important that that bias for action, that knowing when you have to just jump in and act. And the third one, and I would say it's not an easy one, it's being right a lot. And that is important because as a technical account manager, you are the advocate and you are the bridge between teams. So sometimes you will hear your customer telling you that they need something, and you might have a different point of view from support team, or you might have a different point of view from another stakeholder. So it's important to gather all the information. It's important to understand, to take all those facts. And it's important that when you know something is right, is just to make sure you're pursuing that road. It's always keeping in mind what's best for the customer. And if that means that you have to stand, you have to stand, and you have to defend, and you have to make sure that what is right is what it's going to be happening.
So you've made loads of mistakes before you start in Amazon, so that you can get it right in Amazon and always be right.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's part of it. I don't think of mistakes as something I regret. Those mistakes to me are the most valuable lessons. If in all my career I wouldn't have made any mistake, I would probably know half of what I know now, because those mistakes are the things that I know I need to avoid. Those are the things that I know what happens when you do that. I've been there, I've been in pain, so I know what it needs to be done to avoid those mistakes. So mistakes are really nothing to regret, are really precious lessons that we should always take with us. And to me, it's like a very important part of my experience.
Cool. Okay. So we're on the kind of 30-minute mark now. So I was going to open it up for questions, but is there anything, Isabel, that you want to add that I haven't asked you that you want to add, or have we covered it all?
Absolutely. The only thing I wanted to say, I was a candidate. I remember when I was a candidate, I remember how it was like, even the first time I read the technical account manager role and the requirements, and I was like, I was thinking, am I a right fit? Do I have everything I need to be a successful technical account manager? And we have so much talented people here that it is daunting. So if I could go back, I would say to myself, to my candidate, me, I would say, just try and bring the best of you. What's in the offer, it's good. Just show them you have that, but also bring whatever makes you good, whatever makes you special. We haven't think yet, so that's what I would tell myself. Like, just bring the best of you, even if it's not in the that it's very useful and.
Cool. Okay, thanks a million, Isabel. So I'm going to open it up, the forum here, so you can unmute yourself or ping me if you need me to unmute you, because a few people were typing, so I had to kind of mute you. So feel free to either send me the message and I can ask it, or you can unmute and ask Isabel any question you like to do at Amazon. Hopefully someone has a question.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, we can. Sergey, is it?
Yeah, I'm Sergey. Hi, Isabel. Really great to hear the story regarding being Tom. It provides a great insight. Thank you very much for that. And I'm really happy for you that you are happy at Amazon. I have one question. In terms of being successful in this role, how would you define, how you measure your success, or is your manager measuring your success? Is there any channel back from customer they provide, how successful you are when you deliver them the service? Any?
Yeah, I could say my success, we don't have specific metrics, so I define my success on two things. My customer successes, if they are succeeding, they am doing my job well. And I would say my customer satisfaction, if they are getting what they need from me, then I'm doing my job right. Does that make sense? Does that answer the question?
So I think Sergey just looks like his mic is.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can.
Yeah, thank you very much. That totally makes sense. Thank you.
And there is a customer satisfaction survey that's sent out, I think, quarterly to your customers, Isabel. So they do a net promoter score, is it, based on the feedback?
Yes, they provide feedback, and I see also that as a way to know where I need to focus, if there is anything that maybe I've been missing. Usually we have a very close conversation, so usually I know what's going to be in the survey. I would wonder if I'm ever surprised by what's in the survey. I would wonder why I didn't know that, right? But yeah, but it's very important to have their feedback, because that's what allows me to know where should I be focusing as a technical account manager. We have so many different activities that we can be doing, and there are so many different ways to engage with customers that it's really good to know what's working for them, what's valuable for them. So the survey is a great way to get that feedback.
Great question, Sergey. So we have another question. Hi, Isabel. How is one day for you at Amazon? So what does an average day look like for you?
Every day is different, and that's one of the amazing things. But I would say there are different days. There are days that I spend with my customers, which is it's really great, because when I'm at my customer, I'm part of the team. I'm not like an external entity there. I'm just sitting with them and working with them, and they have questions, they come, we work together. So that's really good. And there are days where I'm maybe working from the office and just doing maybe administrative stuff, or maybe just learning new things, or maybe playing with my lab. And there are days where I just stay at home. Like this Monday, it was snowing crazy. So I work from home. And so yeah, it's the same experience. I might be just learning new things, or I might be just working on maybe some customer questions that they have, or maybe preparing the next meeting. So.
Okay, cool. So I think Amir has a question. Are you able to unmute, Amir?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, Isabel.
Hi, Amir.
First, allow me to say that you're very inspiring. What you've talked about your role, about your experience performing this role at AWS. You seem
Thank you.
very satisfied and very happy to work at Amazon. So
I
that's
am.
great.
Thank you.
So what I wanted to ask is, can you tell me about the challenge or challenges that you faced while working in this role?
Oh, yes, that's very interesting. My biggest challenge was when I started, I came from a very specific field, right? I said virtualization and networking. I was good on that. But as I said, big data, I knew about Oracle and SQL, but had no experience about NoSQL databases. I had no experience about things like EMR or Redshift. So I had to learn. So my biggest challenge was to learn how to focus. There are so many services, as Gemma said before. There are so many. The offer is amazing, and when you start, you might, if you like learning, you might want to try and learn everything about everything, and that is just impossible. You have to accept that. I had to accept. It was very difficult, but I had to accept that that was not going to happen. I will never know everything about everything. I will never be an expert about all the services. So that's something that was a big challenge for me, and I had to learn to focus and prioritize. And that's an advice that someone here gave me, one of my colleagues, and he told me, make a list of the things you like, of the things you want to do, and take them one by one. Don't try to make them all at the same time, because then you'll end up not ending any of them. So yeah, that's going to be, and I think that's a common challenge here. We are very enthusiastic people, and we are willing to learn, and we are willing to take everything, right? So it's easy to try to think, yeah, I can do it. And everybody will tell you, when you start here, everybody will tell you, there is a lot of information, just take it slowly, one at a time, but you think, you know what, I can do it. If I try hard, I can do it. So I know no one will listen to this advice, but I'm gonna say it anyway. It's impossible. It's just literally impossible. Just accept it's not possible. Just focus on one thing and just keep moving to the next one. But yeah, that's the challenge for a lot of people here. Does that answer the question, Amir?
No, great. Thank you for your answer. I'll try to stay focused if I get to this role. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Amir.
Okay, there's another question here. So, are TAMs engaging with telco customers, and how do TAMs keep up their technical knowledge? How do they keep it updated?
Yeah, we have customers in almost any sector. So how do we keep ourselves updated? Again, it's a lot of information, but it's important to be updated. So what we try to do is we try to have a good basic knowledge on everything. So it's important to know at least what services are on offer, what do they do. So whenever there is a use case, we can at least drive the customer to the right services. So that would be the minimum. You don't need to know how to use them all, or very specific questions, but you do need to know at least what's on offer and what do the services do. And TAMs, to be updated, we are the owners of our agenda. So every technical account manager decides how much do they need to deal with customer, or how much do they need to do administrative work. And one very important thing, and one very important part of our role, is to separate some time for learning and training. So it's important to never sacrifice that, because as you say, we need to be updated. So it's important to, whenever we know at the end of the year, it's going to be the reInvent, it's this big event, all customers go, and we know customers will ask questions. So we need to know about those services to be able to answer those questions. So what I personally always do is, I know when reInvent is, it's a week. I know when that week is. So I always set up a little bit of time after that week to make sure I know about those new services, about whatever has been announced. And whenever I have a conversation with a customer, I will at least be able to provide some information. Does that make sense? Does that answer?
that's a yes.
I take
Okay.
that as a yes.
There's another question then. So, do you work with one customer at a time or more, or is it all project based?
I'm going to start with the second part of the question. It is not project-based. We want to do a relation with the customer. We want to be a part of their team. So we don't work on a project, by definition, has a starting point and an ending. In a project to be a project, it needs to end. Otherwise, it's a service. So TAMs are absolutely, they do not work on a project basis. We want to be a part of the customer team. So for that to happen, we need to be constantly there. We need to be, it needs to be a long-term relationship, if that makes sense. How many customers? It depends. How much do my customer needs me? If I have a big customer that needs a lot of my time, I might not be able to have any more customers. If I have smaller customers that they don't require so much of my time, I might be able to take more customers. So that completely depends on the customers that I might have.
Great, thank you. Any other questions at all, guys?
If I may, I have another one.
Go ahead.
It is very common in larger companies to have different levels of seniority. So let's say TAM. Is there any senior level of TAM, principal TAM?
Yeah, I can answer that one, or you can answer it, Isabel.
Yeah,
So I'll go first,
ahead.
and then you can answer it. So we have two levels within the TAM roles. We have a technical account manager, and we have a senior technical account manager, and then we also have a principal TAM. And a principal TAM, we have, I think, maybe 2 or 3 in the whole of Europe. So it is quite a flat structure in that sense. So Isabel, do you want to add to that at all?
No, I think that makes sense.
So, you know, people can move up into more senior roles. Some people want to continue to be an individual contributor rather than a people manager. So, you know, you could be a people manager at the same level, or you could be a people manager managing someone at a more senior level than you even. But I think that rarely happens. But yeah, so you can move up as an individual contributor to a very senior level in Amazon Web Services.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay,
Hi,
so
quick question on it's Michael. Thanks first of all for a great introduction. It's really inspiring. Question about the initial trainings. You mentioned one of the first steps, you're going through different trainings and boot camps. How long does it take?
So I think it's changed since Isabel did it, unfortunately. So, so at the moment it's 3 weeks training, and it takes place in Dublin. So you do 2 weeks of the, as she mentioned, kind of engineering training. So it's the premium support training, and then you do 1 week of specific technical account management training. So those tools will be different than other people would use. So it's specific to your day-to-day job. But you do get that fundamental understanding of what the premium support team are doing, and you get that hands-on training as well, which is good foundation, I think, to know where they're coming from as well. And then there's ad hoc training throughout the year as well. So your manager will ensure during your first 3 to 6 months that they are meeting you regularly to ensure that you are getting all the training needs met. So some people starting might be stronger in one area, and someone else on the team might be stronger in a different area. So trying to make sure that each individual has a kind of training plan or onboarding plan suited to them specifically. So Isabel, do you want to add to any of that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's one of the great things here, that we keep learning. We don't have a plan and we just use that forever. If there is something to be improved, we just change it and make it better. So everything changes all the time.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Oh, sorry, I think there's one here. Okay. Isabel, bias towards action means taking responsibility. Taking responsibility means accepting risks. How do you manage these risks and handle failures?
I think that's one of the things where experience helps a lot. And when I say experience, it's not successful projects, those help, those are good. But yeah, I could say my failures were really good lessons. And those are the ones that will help me assess the risk. And those are the ones that will, as you very well said, knowing the risk is easier to take a decision. It's easier, you know, to be biased for action. It's impossible to always be super accurate and know and take that into account, take everything into account. We need to be prepared for the unexpected. And that's what we try to do ourselves. And that's what we always advise customers to do. Prepare for everything. Everything fails all the time. Prepare for the unexpected. So yeah, it is definitely not easy to manage the risk and, you know, to handle failures. But again, a failure is a lesson learned. So if something fails, we learn from that and we improve and we make sure that that never happens again.
Great. And one more from the same lady. So last from me, why Amazon, Isabel? Thanks for your time.
Why Amazon? Well, why Amazon? To me, it's truly inspiring. The leadership principles, when I read them, I felt identified. It was I know recruitment, Gemma, you might confirm if this is still the case. Usually they send you the leadership principles page and you read them and you try to, you know them. But to me, it was like, I felt so identified. I was reading those principles and I thought, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. It's not what I want to. It's not how I want to work. It's how I want to be, because that's how I feel. In order to be successful at work, for me, I need to be happy with what I'm doing. I need to be honest with myself, and I need to be sure that the decisions I'm taking are the right ones, not only technically, but also are from the point of view. If I'm doing things for my customer, just focusing on them, on what's better for them, on their success, no matter what, then I know I'm taking the right decisions and I'm working on what I want to do. So reading that, to me, it was not like I need to learn this. It was like I felt so identified. I felt like this is people that think and feel as I do. So I want to work with these people. I want to be an Amazonian. I don't know if you felt that, but I'm sure reading some of those principles, if you feel identified, if you feel like that's how you feel, you don't have to memorize what they mean, but you really think, oh yeah, that's what I do and I like doing this, then you know Amazon is going to be the right place.
Okay, cool. There's one last question here. Are TAMs working on site with the customer for a long time, or is it just short-term, frequent visits?
Again, that depends on the customer. That depends on the TAM. Sometimes like to be just there, just sitting there as if it's their office, and that's great. Some other customers go just maybe once a week, others go just once a month. It also depends on the customer. Some customers have the teams over the world, so maybe they have teams in different countries, and it's good to go and meet the different teams. Sometimes the team is just in one location, so you just have to go there. It's just the same office and the same team, so you just work and spend more time with them. So there are a lot of factors that can influence that. But as usual, it's good to find the right customer for you since the beginning, because that's what's gonna make your life easier. It's not about you adjusting your life. It's about finding the customer that is gonna match your needs.
And you manage your own time and schedule to kind of fit. So let's say if you're meeting customers in the southwest of UK, you'd group them together and visit them all in 1 week, or if you need to travel abroad, you do the same. Okay, cool.
Exactly. It's about being happy, and it's again this work-life balance, I guess. But if you're the owner of the agenda, there are no two agendas that you need to put together. It's you manage it. Building all the meetings and all the appointments and putting them together.
Cool. Okay. So I think that's everything. I think we've covered a lot. The questions were great. So I actually think maybe next time I should ask you less questions myself and just let everyone else ask the questions because they were much better than my ones. So I'll take a note of all the questions. There will be a survey monkey, so a survey sent out to you in email. And this is the first time we've done this webinar in EMEA. So we'd love your feedback. So anything good, bad, indifferent, we want to know so that we can improve it. And hopefully we'll run this then every few months. Okay, so thanks a million for coming and attending. I hope it's been useful, and we do value your feedback, so I will send you out that survey in the next couple of working days. Okay, and thanks, Isabel, so much for your time and your energy, and I love talking to you because you portray how passionate you are about Amazon and the role. So
thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure being with you. Thank you so much.
Hopefully next time you'll be able to see me. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Thanks, guys.
Bye,